Hello and welcome to R&D Reviews. I'm Dave.
And I'm Rob. Coming up, we're going to be reviewing The Kingsmen.
What do you see? I see potential. Kingsmen is an international intelligence agency operating at the highest level of discretion. If you're prepared to adapt, you can transform into a spy. Interested?
And The Kingsmen is based on the comic book by Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons. Kingsmen is a top-secret British spy organization whose code names are inspired by King Arthur and his knights. Colin Firth plays an agent who picks up Eggy, a young adult from jail. It turns out Eggy's father was a member of the Kingsmen and thinks Eggy would be a good agent for them. Also, the movie features Samuel Jackson. He plays the villain Valentine, who plans on destroying what he considers an overpopulated planet. Alright, well Dave, this movie has been getting a lot of buzz, and did this meet your expectation?
It wasn't really like what I thought it was going to be, but it was good. I liked the acting and everything. I thought it was funnier than most people thought it was, because anything that was funny, there wasn't a whole lot of people in the theater room with me. I don't know if it was because of the weather today or if it's just not. It hasn't made much money. I don't know.
You saw it at 11 in the morning, right?
Yeah, people were probably still at church, but there was only like 10 other people in the room with me. It wasn't like a sold out show. So.
Yeah, I didn't quite know what to expect when I first came into this movie either, but it's kind of like, I would say it's kind of like a combination of old school spy stuff like maybe James Bond and set in a modern day world, kind of like, I guess, a Tarantino world.
Yeah, there are a lot of James Bond gimmicks and cliches.
Sorry about that. Needed to let off a little.
I thought the movie was good, but I didn't really like it quite as much as other people did. The movie's directed by Matthew Vaughn. He directed Kick-Ass a few years ago, which is another movie where everybody seemed to like it, and I'm like, what?
I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, I thought it was good, but I thought for me, with that movie, I thought the violence was a little over the top just for the sake of being over the top, and I thought the script was disjointed. Here, the violence is kind of toned down a bit. I mean, it is still kind of over the top-ish, but it's not quite as bloody and gory for the most part. I mean, there might be a few sequences here and there, like there's the sequence in the church, and there's a sequence towards the end of the movie.
Right, and there's also it's mostly like comic violence in
For me, the performances is what really got me involved with the movie. Colin Firth, I thought, was terrific.
Yeah.
The person who played Eggy, I don't know his name, but I thought he was really good as this sort of street punk character.
Yeah, I seen him on a television sitcom long ago. I forget which one though.
Yeah. Michael Caine was good for what he had to do. The only performance I really didn't care for was Samuel Jackson's. I don't know if I would say this is my favorite performance from him, because I know his character lisps, and I know a lot of villains, especially in spy movies, has some sort of like a deformity, or something to remember them by. Maybe like Blofeld had the scar, and all this other stuff. For me, the lisp for me just did not really work.
That lisp was real distracting for me. I didn't like that at all.
And sometimes I had a hard time understanding what he was saying. But what I liked, some stuff that they did different here that wasn't a cliche. I liked the villain. He is normally in most spy movies, again, old James Bond movies, there are these bloody, cold, violent characters. This guy really is not violent. Actually, he hates the sight of blood.
Right.
He lets other people do that stuff. And what's interesting is he gets a lot of celebrities and world leaders involved in his plot, which I thought was very interesting, because oftentimes he has to get the world leaders to do something for him in order to get it.
Mankind is the virus, and I'm the cure.
Sounds like a lot of people are going to die.
I look like I
kept trying to put my finger on why am I not enjoying this like everyone else seems to have. Because after I saw the movie and I typed up my review and I looked at other reviews, I watched the Schmoes Knows, and everyone's like, oh, this is crazy fun, this is awesome. And I saw someone on Facebook say, I'm going to go see this for the 5th time. And I'm like, what? I mean, I think one of the things I've had a hard time with, perhaps, is, for one, I thought this movie lacks suspense, which I think you need in a spy movie.
Yeah.
The only time I felt on the edge of my seat is towards the end, and there's a moment after Colin Firth's character shows Eggy, the weapons. There's a little scene where they run into a character where I was like, holy crap. But the other times, they're the stuff where they're trying to train these nominees to be Kingsmen, and some other moments, I'm like, why am I not on the edge of my seat? You need suspense to really get there.
Yeah, or there's a scene where they they got to go skydiving, and then he tells them like one of them doesn't have a parachute, and the rest do.
Yeah, so another theory about why maybe I didn't get into this movie is there's a lot of characters you follow. Like, for example, Colin Firth, you follow him. You know, he worked with Eggie's dad, and you got his story, and then you got Eggie himself, and Eggsy, actually, I think his name is Eggsy. I probably said his name wrong. Eggsy. Even though his character background's relatable, you know, like his dad, he grew up without his dad. He doesn't get along with his stepfather. And he's on the, you know, off. He got bailed out of jail from Colin Firth's character. Yeah. So I'm like, so what? So I don't know if it's because of that. I don't know if it's because we didn't get to know him quite enough to get entertained.
Yeah, I was laughing more than anybody else in the theater. This one woman, she was like, the violence was like grossing her out. I don't know, but she kept covering her eyes every time they get violent, especially when they were fighting in church and all that. And people were getting stabbed with crucifixes and all that. Yeah, so, and just blood in general in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of people that really go for the violence, but I think this is somewhat tame compared to Kick-Ass a few years ago. So overall, I was entertained by it. I wasn't bored. Performances were fine. I didn't really quite like it like everyone else did. So for that, I'm going to give it a mild see it in theaters rating.
Well, I'm not going to give it a mild see it. I'm going to give it a see it. It's worth seeing in theaters. It just didn't live up to the high potentials that I hoped it had.
All right, well, thank you very much for watching. If you're interested, consider being a subscriber to our channel. Visit the main page to look at some movies that are in theaters or out on DVD. And also, feel free to post comments about what you thought of this movie. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.